I'll call this meeting to order. Casey, would you please lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before you, welcome everybody first, I guess. Before you have an agenda, I have no changes to the agenda.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Are there any recognitions tonight? Wow, quiet crowd.
Kaylee made
Yes.
6th place and 12th place in conference last weekend for something.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you.
We had the cross country one that was put out.
Which-
Oh, yeah.
Tyler put out.
Okay. Okay. We'll move on to visitors' comments, and we're going to hold off on Tegan because you're going to be in executive session. Okay. Are there any other visitors' comments? We'll move on to the consent agenda. Under the minutes, there has been an error in the minutes. And it said that we went into executive session for a parent issue. That should have been legal advice issue. That should be taken care of both in the executive minutes and in regular minutes. Are there any other additions or corrections to the minutes before we approve this? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We'll move on to old business. Communication policy draft on second reading. Brad?
I don't have anything at this time to add. I think the number one concern, or I guess not concern, but the issue at hand is what happens when somebody actually violates the policy, I guess is what I've heard more than anything. So I don't know if you spell that out in policy. I don't think we do anywhere else, but you would be in violation of policy and you get a letter of reprimand. Is it different between certified, classified parents versus non-parent? So that's about the only feedback that I've received, unless the board has received more.
Jana?
Mr. Chairman, Brad, under like 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3, I guess I don't understand what you don't. I mean, these to me are concrete steps for helping someone act in an appropriate manner. So I'm not sure
So the
If they're
elephant,
not,
I think the elephant in the room is what happens when it's a board member.
oh. So then do we just need to add besides parent or their household, guardians and members of the community and board members? Do we need to add is that what you think will clarify that?
I mean, because I think it's.
Sorry, forgot. I think we just add that. I mean, and I think if we just, because I think it's pretty spelled out too, because when we got those comments, I went back and looked and I thought, I guess I don't understand what they're talking about as far as what's going to happen, because it looks like it's pretty spelled out in terms of what's going to happen. And then if we just add / board member to every place that has parent, community member, whatever, then I think it will take care of the issue.
Any other comments? Is that what we want to do with that? We'd have to put that into a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move under, communications policy for parents, guardians, staff, that we change the title to parents, guardians, board members. Do we want to say community members too? I don't.
Well, do we have any authority over community members though?
Well, if they're speaking to teachers and staff, I mean, because we did talk about wording it that way at one point, parents, guardians, community members, and staff.
Joe?
Mr. Chair, it does say underneath corrected measure number 3, parents will be prohibited from attending Weston County School District #1 activities and athletics events. So I think we can include community members underneath that.
Okay, you want to do your
So
motion? Megan?
yes, I move where we have it listed throughout this document as parents, guardians, and staff, that wording be changed to parents, guardians, board members, community members, and staff.
Okay,
I'll second.
been moved and seconded to do that. I'm not going to repeat it. Did you get it, CeeLo? Okay. Is there any more discussion on that? This is second reading. So all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. At this point, I'd like to have a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session to discuss personnel issue under Wyoming statute 16-4-405, Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So I hate to do this, but I gotta ask everybody to leave. Tegan, if you want to stay, please. Well, let's do you first. Oh, the meeting back to order. We'll move on to new business. Brad, time increase request.
Mr. Chair, I have a recommendation to the board to increase Tara Dawson's hours by 30 minutes a day so that she can perform food service duties at the elementary.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to increase Tara Dawson by 30 minutes a day to help prepare food services at the elementary. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Transfer request.
Yes, I would recommend to the board the transfer request of James Phillips from the elementary custodian to the middle school, high school lead custodian, and I will need to replace that elementary position.
Move to approve. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve James Phillips, from transfer from the elementary custodian to the middle school, high school lead custodian, and to post the position. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Certified recommendation?
Mr. Chair, I would recommend to you Morgan Lepp to be the high school ag welding teacher and FFA director, and that will start second semester.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Morgan Lepp as a high school ag welding teacher and FFA advisor, and which will start the second semester. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Classified resignation.
Mr. Chair, I recommend to the board the classified resignation of Sandy Duclos as the custodian at the elementary and permission to post.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the classified resignation of Sandra Duclos as a custodian and to post a position. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. We're moving down to reports, and Casey, we're going to go with you first again.
Well, appreciate it,
You're
but
welcome.
I have nothing to report. So
Wow, that was fast. Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Mo, did you have anything?
No, unless you guys have questions.
See none. Thank you. Greg?
Well, I hate to ruin a good thing, so I've got nothing to report unless there's any questions for me.
Thank you for being here. Angie?
Yes, I do. First, I want to first, I would like to say, my apologies, but I will have the first quarter financials at the next board meeting on November 8th.
Okay.
And also, we sent in a mini grant application today for the, to help with the beef processing costs. So I will let you know when I hear if we're awarded any monies from that. So basically, they'll meet half what we estimated. Well, they'll meet half of that. So and they'll go back to what we'd already paid this year earlier. So I estimated 15,000. And so hopefully we'll get some of the money. We'll be happy with that. So,
Okay.
hopefully. So, and that's all I have unless there's any questions.
Billy?
And the grant is just for Wyoming, US, correct? It can, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Baylor?
Weston 1 was chosen for the WDE Consolidated Grant Monitoring this year. So over the next couple of months, we'll be gathering documentation and submitting that to WDE for review. And that'll be for the 22-23 grant year.
Yeah. Any questions? Thank you. Is your report long, Kim?
Try not
Oh, I just got
to.
And so board, I have a handout for you this evening. And I just wanted to report some numbers for this fall semester through our program. That top area, that's listing our concurrent credit classes. We had 17% freshmen registered, 24% sophomores, 62% juniors, and 54% seniors. A total of 17 classes were offered with a total of 85 students who enrolled in the fall. For dual credit classes, we had 8 seniors who registered for the summer 2023. And also for dual credit for fall, we had 16 seniors register, 4 juniors registered, 1 sophomore and 1 freshman for a total of 22 students for dual credit with 11 classes that they took there. And then for our site classes, we had that care and prevention class. We had 8 students who took that. And then a total of 41 students enrolled, and that includes our honor conservation camp students there. And then for this year, we have 9 students who are seeking degrees, and then we have a total of 6 high school students who will be graduating with their associate degrees and 4 adult graduates. So I just wanted to report that. For what is it? For the adult students, yes. Yep, for adults.
6.
And then six high school students for associate degrees this year. So a total of 10 graduates. For, yeah, I would say that's one of our top. Yep. For,
Any questions for Kim?
and then the last handout that I have for you is just a comparison that we had at our coordinators meeting this year. And that is giving numbers with the other outreach locations compared to our numbers. And so we're sitting pretty strong there in outreach under the Newcastle for total number of students for fall of last year and spring of last year. So I just wanted to show you those comparisons for that.
Yes, Brad.
Kim, did we ever get anywhere since they added the new president about looking at the numbers of students that are involved in any kind of a change in the funding piece of that, or where did it end up?
There is still discussion in that area that they're looking to fund our outreach locations more. Because we do take up 2/3 of their enrollment at EWC in outreach. So we have, a pretty large population of students for the college there. So,
Yes, we do.
so fingers crossed, we're still working on that.
Any other questions for Kim?
Thanks, Scott.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just looking at the first page at the top, is always the freshman registration always low for freshmen?
Yeah, and I should probably explain that to some of you new school board members. And the reason being is we don't have a lot of college classes that students can take as freshmen. So that percentage is always going to be our lowest percentage for students to enroll. And what I'll try and do at one of the board meetings, I'll give you a list of what students can take as freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then that'll make sense of why our percentages are a lot higher at juniors and seniors.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
You want to go next?
I don't really have any.
Okay. Well, we'll go on back. Bryce, you wanna?
I don't have a report. Yeah, questions?
Okay. Questions? Alan, do you wanna? Yeah. Wow. Brad?
Well, Mr. Chair, I have 2 items for you. So late this afternoon, I did receive a email from Bo Garcia, who is the activities director in Weston 7. And it basically states that I am writing to let you know that your school board know that Upton is going to be competing on their own in wrestling in the immediate future. We appreciate everything that your organization has done for our students and over the years, and they wish us best luck. And so with that, I think it would be wise that we post a head boys wrestling and an assistant boys wrestling coach immediately, because that season, I believe, starts at the end of November. And I know that I should not put that in my report, but that late of notice, it just fits. And I know that I should not put that in my report, but that late of notice, it just fits. So I apologize for the late oncoming, but I think it's an urgency that we try to address for our students.
Jason?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion.
It's been moved and seconded to advertise for a head wrestling coach and an assistant wrestling coach for the high school. Is there any discussion? Yes, Dana?
Mr. Chairman, do we need to say, is this boys and girls wrestling, or is this just boys wrestling?
This is just boys. Currently, last year, the board took action. We currently have a head girls coach in place and an assistant that the board took action in June-ish.
You find that clear.
Sure. Thank you. Is there any more discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
And to continue my late tardiness, I would ask the board if they would consider a special meeting to discuss a student issue. Actually, it's an expulsion hearing on the 30th of October. And I know you're all very busy people, so please don't take this as disrespectful, but apparently the closer to 5 o'clock would be better than later. But in respect to everybody's schedules, I'm sure 5 o'clock really does not work. So I would entertain anything closer to that in the motion. It does. Nick, give me a little wait. It really was the 30th or nothing, correct? Because of the time frame?
That's correct. We've had 5 potential hearing officers either not have time or not interested in conducting a hearing. This hearing officer has experience and a background in it, but only has the 30th available, and it must be held before the 31st or earlier.
Thank you. What time is the
No, it's October 30th is a Monday. I'm sorry, I was not very clear.
We want 5 o'clock. I can be back.
Everybody do 5 o'clock?
Yeah.
Okay, I need a motion to that effect.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to have a special meeting October 30th at 5 o'clock for an expulsion hearing. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. You done, Brad?
I believe I am complete. Is that right, Nick? Did I leave anything out?
No, Brad, thank you.
We're good.
Are there any board reports?
We have our committee.
Well,
If you wanted to report from the building.
that's fine. Who's ever, Joe?
I did get to attend the public officer training this Tuesday, put on by the audit department. Rich Cummings was in charge of it. It was very informative. My experience must have been different than Paul's. It was very good. Went over a lot of state statutes, had 6 different, things that they went over. I would like to see, based off of this, I would like to see a, board workshop, board retreat happen sooner than later, especially for us newer board members. I think that'd be a very good thing for us to experience.
Jason?
Mr. Chair, were they still going or plan on putting that on at the conference this year, a separate? I know we, I know at one time-
At the conference.
Right.
They were gonna sponsor one. Would sponsor their own.
That's,
Yeah, I don't-
though.
I don't think they were going to put it on at the conference. It was going to be a special
I agree.
video or something. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Information, a piece of events to come, but I can't find it.
So,
What did you go to?
At the library. It was the one that was emailed out 2 weeks ago.
Sorry, we had one at the reading test.
any other board report? You want to do the building and grounds?
I don't care. I'll do the next round.
I don't know.
Okay, so the Buildings and Grounds Committee met the last 2 weeks. And I think, do you all have the future project ideas draft too? Okay. Well, here is the basics, and Greg has tons of details if you want them, but here's the basic thing is at this point there is $776,000 of major maintenance money. There's around 505,000 of that is sitting in unpaid work orders. So there's $500,000 of work that we still have to pay for out of that 776. There will be a quarterly payment then after December 31st of, I wrote $230,000 to $250,000. So at this point in time, this is sort of the things that we are believe we have to put on the back burner for a while is replacing some of the bleachers. That will need to do that as our budget allows. Taking the auditorium seating idea to the foundation and endowment and seeing what they can help us with. And then talking in the future, we wouldn't want to do it this winter anyway, about a new approach at the elementary school and talking to YDOT about it. And we are going to contact a member of the YDOT commission since we haven't had great response from YDOT in this district, and see if we can get a little movement on adding an approach and or adding a right-hand turn lane into the school. So number one new thing we have to take care of is the elevator is dead at the high school. So we are out of compliance. As long as that is the case, they're making accommodations for those people who really need that, whether their learning will be moved to the ground floor or we're taking care of that now, but that's probably $100,000. Completing the pool lighting. I put 5,000, was that right? Yeah, because I had we had 12 at one point and I crossed it out and changed it to 5. And then, replacing that elevator, we will probably see if they can put a keypad on that instead of a key, so keys not getting shared and people who don't need the elevator are using it a lot. $8,000 for field maintenance and working on the football field. And no, I said, did I say general fund? Didn't I say 8,000 for general fund?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. To work on the condition of the football field. And then we're gonna need to look at they're gonna do a work order to the school facilities department to replace the irrigation system at the football and soccer fields. And then we're going to need to look at replacing all irrigation systems at some point in the next year or so. And look at repair and or replacement of parking lots. So that's, any committee members, did I miss anything?
Yeah.
Boilers.
Oh, right, because those were on draft 1. Yes, we paid, the school district paid for the boilers themselves. So there's 50,000 in labor costs to install those.
Greg, did you have,
Yeah, it's just one little.
turn your mic on, please?
Just one little minor thing, and I don't think we talked about, so what you wrote was probably correct. Instead of going with the keypad, he kind of talked us out of that. He said that actually if we would go through Verkada, we can get a thing that we can do a card reader on, which is gonna be great, because then we can treat it the same way as we treat doors. Bo comes in, goes, I need the elevator for 2 weeks. At the end of 2 weeks, we can shut his rights off. So and he.
It'll log who's on and.
Yeah, so anyway, just a little footnote there.
Mason?
Who do we have, or who's gonna be doing the elevator?
Well, Kone, I'm gonna make this real brief. Kone is the elevator we got now. Kone is proprietary. Kone is the only ones that can work on it. We found a guy in out of Rapids. Seemed like a pretty decent guy.
The older guy?
Yeah,
The guy who did your wins over there.
yeah, he's the one that well, that might be a story for a different time. But anyway,
I will gladly speak.
He feels that for, somewhere around $100,000, he can basically give us a new elevator that does not have any proprietary parts on it. So.
Okay.
I could just tell you, Greg, I'm going on 5 years at the courthouse, trying to get stuff done on that.
Oh, really? Yeah.
We got you beat by 1.
Yeah. Or maybe 2.
Joe?
I just got one question. Maybe it was not future project, but past projects. The south sidewalk on the south side of the pool, the gap between the grass and the sidewalk.
Looked at it lately.
What was that? It would have been last Thursday. I walked.
Going as it's filled.
It's filled. Thank you, Greg. I do appreciate that. I walk with somebody who doesn't really pay attention and I worry about her. So
Yeah, no.
thank you. No, I do love her, but she is, concerned about her.
Any questions for,
And thank you to the whole committee.
Mr. Chair, I would assume then that we have a priority 1, 2, 3 that we're gonna be.
Elevators number 1.
Boilers.
Okay, anything else? Future agenda items. Yes, Billy.
I guess I'd like to see this, and I guess it's more of a question. Is there any kind of, I don't know how, like staff member for, incentive, I guess, could say for, advancing their education, such as getting their teaching degree, getting their master's? Is there any type of like a reimbursement that we do or we can do or we can look at?
I believe the answer to that is yes, but I'm not exactly sure. So for example, the Fastbender Scholarship is there for teachers that primarily want to help pursue endeavors in math and science. Right now, we're putting quite a bit of money for those that would like to earn an additional degree towards SPED. Does that answer or?
Yeah, somewhat. I mean, if there's a teacher out there that say they want to get their master's, do we reimburse them up to 1,000, 1,500, or how does that work? I mean, it doesn't necessarily be in SPED, just their master's.
To answer your question, I don't believe in general there's that kind of incentive. There is a policy that allows somebody to request to the board a sabbatical leave so that they could take a year off and do that. But that I don't think depends on how you see that as an incentive. But do we pay for people to actually move up on the pay scale? Is that?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's under, I guess it's under my understanding that we are currently paying for 2 or 3 members to get their masters in, and I think a couple of them are in SPED.
I believe it's all SPED.
All SPED. And
Sure.
so I guess my question is why are we just isolating SPED? Why don't we offer, even if it's like $1,000 or $500 towards them getting their masters?
The need has been the greatest in SPED, math and science.
I would just add to that, we're able to pay for those SPED degrees because we can pay for it through the IDEA grant. Whereas maybe that funding isn't available for like a gen ed classroom teacher.
So, and that's where I was jumping to that is one of them now we just hired as a elementary teacher and we're still paying correct for her to get her master's in SPED, even though she's an elementary teacher. Okay.
Yeah.
There is also a program through the Elbow Foundation where the national board certified teachers, a teacher who acquires that certification gets $1,000 from the Elbow Foundation. That's a pretty long process, but that helps make it worthwhile.
But don't they get it for like,
Go ahead, Dina.
Don't they get it for like the first 4 years or something, or don't they get it for?
over time?
Okay, I wasn't sure.
I don't think it ever ages out. It changes in math.
Okay.
I'm sorry, it's $4,000. And new nationally board certified teachers get an extra 1,000. So as long as they keep their national board certification, they're going to get $4,000 a year.
But that doesn't do a master's. That's different.
Right, it is, but it's the national
Mhm.
teaching certification.
Now, I guess I'm going to throw that on Bo. Is that something, I mean, are all the teachers aware of this or is that something we can put on the website? That address or something? I mean, to help them.
National Center.
We do.
Yeah, we have several.
So, yeah, I think generally that the Elbow goes out periodically, at least I would say 4 times a year. And also just to let you know, so, one of the things philosophically that we've discussed over the years is, in the teacher pay scale, there is that advancement, whether you use the degree or not. So in the past, when we've talked about incentives to that, you could actually pay somebody or assist somebody to move up in the pay scale and then actually never experience that usage of that degree to benefit student learning. And the one that they always use is, for example, I go get my degree in administration, but I have no aspirations of ever doing that. So I'm a master's plus 45. Does that degree actually come back and help student learning? And so we've gone back and forth. That's probably a 50-year conversation, and how that works. The original piece of the national teacher certification is the initial data that came out of that study was those teachers that went through that process truly did show significant student gains. It's been a while since I've looked at that. And usually over time, that probably isn't as high because the number of teachers that go into that also changes the divisor. But that's how it was really sort of positioned in the state is it was the most direct way to help student learning.
There's all kinds of questions, but the main question is, do our citizens want this? So let's have a town hall.
And there's more to it than that.
There's a lot more to it.
But we've seen it's sort of been a perfect storm. After the newspaper, me primarily suggested a few years ago, the conversation needed to be had. Everybody thought I was saying the move needed to be made. And even if you make the move, you're talking about, I think, realistically, probably a 2 to 4 year transition. You know, a lot of the people who talk about, people's jobs and everything, this isn't something you do overnight. Even I think when you decide to do it, what you do is you start a clock. Hell, we've seen shifting from city landfills to regional landfills takes 2 decades, for crying out loud. I don't think it should take that long. That's ridiculous. But
positioned in the state is it was the most direct way to help student learning.
In the past, Billy, we did have a grant loan payback program through the state for concurrent teachers or future concurrent teachers that they can complete an application. And we've taken several of actually our current concurrent teachers through that program. Unfortunately, that no longer is. The state took that away, but it was an amazing program. They would reimburse full payment back for every course they took. That benefited for master credit to teach future concurrent classes for us. And if they stayed with our district for 3 or more years, it didn't turn into a loan or back to a loan for them. So that's something we have done in the past, just to make you aware of that.
We'll move on to discussion items. Policy review of policy GBED staff conduct. And this is the one from the WSBA, right? Correct. And the GBED-E, which is the exhibit right below it. Did everybody have a chance to read it and have any questions? Go down the other way. Oh, I guess you were right. You were going right away. Yes, Dana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, as far as GBEB goes, I think combining it, okay, here's what I'm going to say. There's only one section in there that I think is really not redundant. And that is that, and I think we could put it under staff conduct, GBEB-R, to say, The board expects that the staff of the district will strive to set a positive example for students. That would be my suggestion for a first sentence. And I think we also need to decide, is this about staff conduct or is this just about faculty and teachers? Because that is all, we call it staff conduct, but it keeps saying faculty members and teachers. So, that's something for discussion, but I would ask everything on GBEB except that one statement and put it in GBEB-R.
Any other comments? Jason?
Thank you. For the GBCB-E, what did we say on that for because I know we discussed that last.
Well, we got the new one. Yeah. This blue one is the new one.
And this is the one from the state, right?
It's from the professional.
Or, yeah, okay, okay, okay. I had questions on the old one, but I guess I apologize. I didn't go through that one.
So now, what do you want to do with the R and the other one now?
Okay, so I believe that we do need a statement besides the professional code of conduct. So I would combine, and I don't know if we want to call it all GBEB or GBEB-R, but I would combine those two, call it staff conduct. I would use the sentence, the second part of the second paragraph in GBEB. The board expects that the staff of the district will strive to set a positive example for students. And then add the appearance and conduct from GBEB-R, because most everything else in here is redundant in this code of conduct, which I assume we will adopt.
So you're saying move the board expects, that's the only paragraph we'll use?
Well, I would cut it down.
Okay, but that would go to the top of the R?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yep.
And everything else is eliminated
Yep.
in that portion of it? So everybody,
We adopt the other.
Right. So GBEB would be eliminated, and then we'd put that sentence on GBEB-R. Or we can keep GBEB. I don't know which one is, if there's.
The R references the policy. So
Okay.
if you get rid of the policy, there's nothing to reference.
Okay, so then the thing to do would be to edit out everything except the board expects that the staff of the district will strive to set a positive example for students, and then move the things from R onto GBEB. I had a feeling that was the case.
okay. Is there any other modifications, Tina?
So it seems to me like when I'm looking at R and it under professional conduct, so you're saying to keep all of this and move it up to GBEB. The only thing I guess I would say is that it seems pretty subjective, right? Like positive attitude, remarks are in good taste. I just feel like, how are you going to really say whether that's the case or not? I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I'm in a world of like data and like, how do you prove that? And how do you know if a kid has made progress? And I'm like, well, so what seems like remarks are in good taste, that's very subjective. I'm guessing if you ask 9 of us up here, we'd have 9 different answers, or at least 8. And so what good does that do us? I mean, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Jason, did you have something?
So the one, Anna, that you handed me, there are a few things in there that I still disagree with. And I don't think we should adopt that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I have some questions about those too, but do we?
Are you, okay, we're talking this first.
Yep.
Okay.
Right, so if we want. Do we just want to do away with these and then go through this and make sure it also kind of fits what we need? This is the hard part about revising policy, is it's hard.
That's what I.
Tina?
I think that's what I would do. I just feel like the other one is so old and outdated and it doesn't really fit what, I mean, like I said before, it's pretty subjective, and I think this newer one has a better, I mean, we can at least go through that piece by piece, but I would scrap the rest of it.
So is that what everybody wants to do?
And Mr. Chairman.
Brad? Go ahead. Go ahead, Brad.
What I was gonna say is if we really do have to have a district policy for conduct, then my suggestion would be to take the things that we like about this. We know that's been reviewed by attorneys most likely. And make that into the policy.
And teachers get that with their certificate.
And they get. So, but then our policy might not cover every single thing in here. If we decide there's a provision we're not going to enforce here.
If I could make a suggestion, that you read that, what you don't like, cross it out, whatever, underline it, write different things, but submit it to CeeLo. And so she can piece it all together for us and then send us out a kind of a rough draft of what it looks like. Hi, Tina.
Can I?
Sure.
So correct me if I'm wrong, but this is from PTSB. So I don't think we can change. I mean, if they're getting this with their certificate, it is what it is. Right? I mean, PTSB this is what they expect. I mean, I don't know if I don't think that's
Well,
something.
one of the things we can do, we can expect more. We can expect more if we want to. What, right. But we can't expect more, and we can't expect different things. I mean, we don't have to follow. Brad?
So Nick, I hate to put you on the spot, but I'm going to, because I watch CSI once a week and I'm sure that makes me a little bit of an attorney. But I believe the reason that there is the identifications that are identical is so that when we are in some kind of a legal issue, you don't have policy that's conflicting policy. So most of what is in our policy manual either comes from the feds, from the state, or the School Boards Association, and we try to stay away from any variance of that because we could end up in legal trouble. Help me.
So that's exactly right. And, Mr. Chairman is correct on that as well. So the district does have the ability to modify standards as long as they meet the base requirements of federal education law and state professional teaching standards. The benefit of adopting professional teaching standards or federal guidelines as proposed is oftentimes they've already been litigated, and any of the discrepancies or dispute with those policies will have already been hashed out or They've been modified in response to other litigation that's occurring even after the policy's passed. And so that is one reason why adopting the standards as proposed in those guidances can be useful. Now, if there's some wordsmithing or you want to add some more clarifying language or things like that, that's well within the board's discretion. Similar, like the communication policy, you can pass other policies as the board deems fit, but if it's not substantially similar to another policy, you may be the one that litigates it firsthand.
Dana?
So here's an example. Do not use your personal phone to text or call students. Do we buy phones for all our staff? Does everyone on our staff, are they issued a school district cell phone? So I'm not sure how we can even begin to enforce that when, I mean, people are communicating that way every day here in this district.
Right, but I believe where that leads to, so if you use your personal phone to reach out to a student and it is in an inappropriate fashion, then the violation would be, not only is it in violation of that policy, but in many cases, that probably could even be illegal.
Right, but then you've got the kid who is, the road was icy and they're 10 minutes out and they're supposed to meet the group to go to the game or the whatever. And they text the teacher and say, I'm on the way. Or they text the coach or the sponsor. I mean, I just know that that's happening. And so I don't know how we can say that they cannot do that.
Maybe the word appropriate would be the way to fix that. I mean, truly, I think so there are communications that are very important to safety kinds of issues, whether it be a school device or your personal device. But then there's both devices that could be used inappropriately. So maybe that's something Nick could, yeah, appropriate. Yeah. I see that. Yeah, I mean, truly, in that manner, I don't think anyone would ever see that as unethical or illegal. But if you watch the national news, it's the other side that probably gets us in trouble. And I will tell you, I think even from an attorney side, they even do question, how you use those devices, because that does open up for either the misinterpretation or the availability. And then, what do you do with that? I know a lot of superintendents carry a personal phone that, is for wife, kids, and mother-in-laws. And then they carry a school district phone, which is for other usage. And they really do just try to keep them that separate. I would probably benefit from that practice.
Jason?
So then what you're saying is highlight these areas that we have questions on and then submit that.
Well, that would be,
Submit your.
I mean, yeah, and that could be a discussion for us, if we want to go forward and maybe something for Nick to look at too also. Yep. So you have a question on it? Anything else? Any other? Sure, Jason.
Is that to be by next meeting, have that into CELO then, or are we having, I mean, before, but
Yeah,
for next meeting?
yeah, if we could. You have something? Anybody else? Okay. The 2024-25 school calendar draft. 2024-25 school calendar draft.
So in your packet, Mr. Chair, you have a rough draft of a proposed calendar for the 24-25 school year. As you can see, it pretty much stays with the same concepts as the 4.5 day week. I believe there is one 5 day week in here. However, I believe that is also homecoming week or the possibility of homecoming week. We don't actually know the schedule for that, the activities. But we do believe that homecoming will either land on September 20th or the 27th. And so it's just out there for discussion. Probably more information as far as the building principles and others. I don't know if anyone here has received any feedback or not, and they could share that if they wish.
I sent everything I received to you correctly.
What's that, Sean?
What's PLC mean?
Professional learning community.
Education used to keep your construction. So really, that's the time that we've tried to set aside so we can look at, where we are either as a staff in our learning and our individual student learning. And it's also the flexibility that the building principals have, that if the stress level's really high or different things are happening, it could actually, some of those days are just simply a work day where they can, get some things done in their classroom. And we ask for that flexibility just because there are weeks that sort of creep up on you and can get a little crazy. And we have to have that discretion, but primarily it is to really try to focus, drill down on where the student learning is and where it isn't. And then what are we doing for those that either are not quite getting it or those that are getting it and need to move on. And the building principals can go into way more detail on how they see that K through 12.
I guess my question is, when does this have to be approved by?
June 15th. Well, no, actually, you can approve it whenever you want.
Okay,
Only June 15th if you're doing an alternative calendar, which isn't. The sooner the better, Sonia likes that, because then she can start scheduling things out for next year for professional development wise. Sometimes those vendors or those people that put in that time for that PD, they put their calendars way out. And then the homecoming thing, Alicia goes to the state scheduling meeting on November 5th, I believe. And so, no, November 15th. And so she'll get the football schedule then. And then we kind of build from there for homecoming week.
so if we had a discussion on this for the next meeting or approve it by the next meeting, unless there's some other changes that we're unaware of, that's more than soon enough.
That would be before.
What?
It would be before she.
Yeah, I know, but we'd know that change possibly. Gus, Dan.
So, I guess I would like to somehow put this out for some community comment too. And so if we could have that on the agenda for the next meeting and get some community comment too, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
We can put it on web page and then put it on Facebook. Because everybody looks at Facebook.
It's where it all happens.
Okay.
I have just one thing to bring up, but I didn't know where to bring it up. Thanks, Mr. Chair. I don't know where we need to go with this, but I should have brought it up maybe future, but we having a little conflict now that we have girl wrestling in junior high to where I don't know who we need to visit with on this because we have a lot of girl wrestlers in junior high and it's kind of hurting the basketball program because the boys have 4 sports and the girls only have 3. I think that's how that works. So I don't know. I think that district wide, they have to get together the ADs. Is that how that works? So I don't know, moving forward, who do we need to visit with?
So what he's getting at is right now the girls wrestling is going the same time as girls basketball.
Oh.
And what we talked about last night, and it'd be something Carrie would have to talk to the other districts or whatever that are around us, is if they could switch that, the girls wrestling during boys basketball, so the girls could still play basketball and wrestle, like the boys get to play both. I mean, if it's not possible, it's not possible, but if that's something.
Handle that, Brad, would you?
Finance meeting.
I already have the answer, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Yeah. Jason?
I don't know how you're gonna. Well, you know,
Here's the thing, I've actually lived through this. So years ago, South Dakota's girls basketball was at the start of the year. And really the argument that was brought forward is because it didn't have the same time frame and the recognition as the boys, the women did not have the visibility for the college venue. And of course, you had to compete against volleyball. And so, you know, for a middle school, it might be as simple as where are you going to put it? So it isn't on top of something else. But I would also tell you that the biggest problem I think where you're going to find in middle school wrestling is where it hasn't quite developed as far as the high school numbers is you might have cut your opportunities for your girls to wrestle against girls. And then if they don't have a girls match, then if they're not with the boys, then who are they going to wrestle? And so I think as that develops with popularity and competition, then you would have like kinds of numbers. I mean, I was told even in the high school, our girls would benefit much more. Troy and I were just talking about this. So really it is like boys and girls basketball. But South Dakota's female wrestling is progressed so much faster than Wyoming. So if you want guaranteed quality matches against females, you really do need to be going to South Dakota. Well, that probably doesn't mean that our boys wrestling team is going to follow the girls wrestling team. So in transportation, that means you're going to have, you know, at the same time, you're going to have boys and girls basketball, boys and girls wrestling, and then you're going to have boys swimming. And then you also have speech. And at the same time, not everyone's going to fit in a Suburban. So, you know, I mean, these are all good problems to have, but, you know, I just visited Mr. Hoffman and I spent a great deal of time today visiting with a young lady that wants to, you know, to look at cheer and dance and These things are all great for kids. The problem is truly with our numbers of students dwindling and we continue to add activities, it makes it even more of a challenge to coach at a time where coaching is already difficult. Because now we're going to be fighting over the same kinds of kids. And that's what we're doing. So I went full circle there.
That help you out, Sean? Okay.
That's gonna be that's interesting. I mean, I would definitely mention it.
And kind of piggyback, I think, and we weren't talking next year, but just as it progresses, I mean, you know, if the girls wrestling gets big in the state, especially at the junior high district or junior high area, I mean, because we've already talked about the high school's already kind of going, the girls are having their separate tournaments and stuff. We just kind of talked about, you know, because the girls don't have, junior high girls don't have anything the month of January, February, March till soccer and track start, and just kind of giving them the opportunity, and it does separate them. But on your point, I don't think even at the junior high level, I don't think girls can wrestle boys now, correct? It's separated still? Does anyone know that?
Junior high isn't governed by WHSA, so they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, I think, yeah, they can do
They try to wrestle with girls, but they do match.
Joe?
I just want to add on that one of the things another school, I believe it may have been right. I'm not 100% for sure, but their 8th grade girls basketball team is 0 because of boys and girls wrestling together at the same time. All the girls went to wrestling and their 8th grade girls basketball team is 0. So just, I'm not trying to persuade a decision, but
No, you're absolutely right. And we're going to be there. We're not there yet, but we are going to have an issue that will come to us. It's just a matter of time where we offer a program, but you just don't have enough students to continue the program for that year. Doesn't mean you cut it. But it just means that you don't have the number of students to justify the program, whether that be 1, 2, or 0. I don't know. But I think you're going to see a lot of that. And based on all kinds of different reasons. But yeah, it'll be here soon.
Jason?
Same thing, Mr. Chair, and I don't know, I got 2 things, whether it was future agenda or discussion. The WSBA delegation assembly vote, we need to, as a board, get together and go through that and at some point before then.
I think the next meeting, if everybody reads the stuff that the WSBA sent out, and then we can talk about how to vote on that.
Perfect, thank you. And then the second, I gave Bo a copy and I gave CeeLo a copy. If we could, not to put Bo on the spot, but if Bo maybe next meeting kind of talk to the board about that AIM program. It's just a security, school security program. Bo and I think Brad has looked into it in the past.
Send you the video that I have of it.
So yeah, just something I'd like the board to just look at and see. I know county wise, we're looking at it. I know Clark and Weston 7 looked at it. There's a couple school districts in Wyoming that are utilizing it. So I just like.
Now, the hospital went ahead and jumped on it already.
I haven't heard if they officially done that yet or not.
Thank you from Kelly, because I was asking her opinion on it too, and I thought she said the hospital man or one of them.
But right, yep, I know they were in that meeting, so yeah.
Hannah?
One more thing too, we're at the point now where we only have a couple more meetings left this year. So I would like us to be looking at doing a board training in January. If we can.
Well, one of the things in January that does take place is the WSBA puts on 2 workshops. Well, one for, yeah, she is. But just so you know that the WSBA does put on the 2 workshops. I don't know, they probably won't put on the new board member workshop this year. They usually put on something a little different. And then they put on, they used to do a chairman workshop, but I don't know if they do that anymore. And I don't know what days, there are 2 weekends in a row in January. So they do put that on. But if we want to try to schedule, the problem with trying to schedule it in January is because their instructors are at those workshops. So if we're going to plan on doing it on a Saturday, on a weekend, just
Well, 1st of February.
We can call them and ask them. That'd be fine. And
I think you're gonna have some new trainers that we probably aren't even aware of.
yeah. And do you want to have it on board governance or what's your?
Well, I think, I guess. I think one thing I'd like to do is ask our newer board members what they would like to see have training on, whether it's some school finance, whether it's the accountability handbook, assessment, all those kinds of things. And also then I think part of it needs to be on board governance, but I would like to tailor it possibly to some of the things that they would like more information on.
Board governance is probably the most important thing that I ever went through. And I'm probably the only board member sitting here that's done that. It really was. It gives you a good sense of where you're at, what you're doing, what your roles and responsibilities are, what's the roles and responsibilities of the superintendent, and you sit down and you have those heart-to-heart talks, and you come up with your policies. And we have the policy books up made for them already. So if we're not doing what we're said we were going to do back then, it'd be pretty easy to go through that and change that. So I really think it's a powerful, if it's done right, it's a powerful training. It really is. I don't know if you'd want to do 8 hours of it or not in one setting, but I mean, it took us a course of 7 days, I think, or 6 days to go through it. And so, but we can do it quicker now because we already have the policy books. The governance, and I don't even think they call it that anymore. I think they call it something else, but, and then if you wanted something else, but I guess if you have an idea what you want to know, shoot CeeLo an email and we can call the WSBA and see when they can set it up for end of January, 1st of February. Anything else? Meeting adjourned.
I'll call the meeting for the Eastern Weston County Recreation Board. In front of you, you have an agenda.
Second.
I got a motion to approve, probably seconded. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Any recognitions? Seeing none, we'll move on to visitors' comments. Seeing none, we'll move on to action items, consent agenda.
Move to approve. Second.
I got a motion to approve, properly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I have nothing for old business, nothing for new business. Nope. Oh,
I gotta break the trend. So we did talk in the committee, whatever they want to call it, about the lights. Just for a background, I don't know if you've been told, but Rick Phillips thinks he can come in and just change the light bulbs to a brighter lumen. And Greg thought $2,000, and then we doubled it. We figured 5,000 for labor and material. And I think we talked about maybe coming out of the rec board money on that one, correct? Just so everybody's aware of that. But I don't know if Greg told you about that, but Rick, I guess, is going to come in and look and see if he can. Yeah, he's going to come in and see. The way it sounded, he thought he could get a bulb that fit just right in there that was brighter. He didn't know if it was changing a ballast and the bulb, but that is getting looked at, just so you know.
thank you. Anything for new business? Anybody have anything for discussion? Meeting adjourned.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.